So we're taking a little break from Yanks and feminism and all sorts of stuff like that, but we're still running with the theme of authoritarianism here, people. And today's story is from my country, the United Kingdom. As you probably can hear, I am from there, I do live there, and my government has decided to introduce a new draconian law, which has me very worried. And this law is called the Investigatory Powers Bill, also known as the Snoopers Charter. Now, what is the Investigatory Powers Bill? Well, according to neowin.net, the new law means that ISPs must store more extensive internet connection records, ICRs, by default without the need for a warrant. Until now, of course, people, ISPs needed to see a warrant before logging what customers could do online and would only log up for up to 12 months. With the introduction of the new law, ISPs will have to log everyone's usage and record more extensive data, including account reference, a source, internet protocol, and port address, a destination IP, and the port address and the time and date. ISPs could be asked to collect even more data if possible, but it would only be accessible with an interception warrant. Now, basically what Theresa May, this being her pipe dream, this is her big thing, and she's been all about this for years now. Basically, this act has been created to combat terrorism, be it Islamic or any other kind of terrorism. This is, of course, the excuse. It's no better than the Patriot Act by taking away your right to privacy and basically allowing the government more powers to snoop and basically to do something illiberal to you on the basis that it's for your own good and you need to be protected. That's basically why Theresa May and the Conservative Party have introduced this act. So it basically forces ISPs to log all our internet history, to log all the things that we do online and give it to the government and the police or security agencies without a warrant. Back in the day, you would have needed a warrant to ask for this information because that's basically akin to searching one's house. Now, you don't even need a warrant to search through somebody's private history on the internet. What they're basically saying is that the internet, or at least a person's private internet history and other stuff that he does or she does, is now a public thing. It's kind of like a public domain thing, and the police and security agencies and the government can, with certain exceptions which we'll get into later, snoop around, have a look, and basically do what they want with it for up to 12 months without need for a warrant. This is, of course, incredibly draconian, authoritarian, but what do I expect from the Conservative Party here? This is basically removing our rights to privacy because of apparent dangers of terrorism. Yes, I know it's a big threat to Europe right now, but the last thing we need to do is to be taking away our freedoms and allowing the government to basically do what they want with us and to snoop in our private affairs. Most of us aren't terrorists. There's no need for them to go around snooping. All they need is a warrant to go and search for a potential suspect. But no, instead they want to do so in a kind of weird sci-fi dystopia type thing for our own good. It's insane. The article later goes on to say, once the data is collected, there will be many entities which will be able to access the data, including the Department for Transport, Department of Health, HMRC, NHS, Food Standards Agency, and the Gambling Commission. Additionally, the law will allow security services to hack electronic devices and put legal pressure on services that offer secure communication software to hand over communications data. So basically, it's not all to do with terrorism exactly, although that was the impetus behind it initially. It can be used for the Department of Transport and Department of Health and Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, which is basically the IRC or whatever the tax is in America, and the NHS and Food Standards Agency, all stuff like that. It's basically to see if not only if you're breaking terror laws, but also gambling laws, transport laws, health laws, tax laws, all sorts. Never mind the fact that this could probably all be sorted out and done without the need to be snooping in everybody's business, but hey, whatever. But the more worrying thing is it allows security services, I assume private security services, since the Tories are all massive on things like G4S, who, by the way, G4S's owner is Theresa May's husband. So this is in his interest. This allows him and his company to hack the common man's electronic device because they may think he's doing something wrong. We're giving power into the hands of corporate private security services to do what they want with our internet history, all in the name of security. It's bad enough that the police can do it without a warrant, but at least the police are a public service that are trusted to some extent to handle this stuff with care. I would feel really scared that the police don't need a warrant, but I'm even more scared at the fact that these security services are allowed to do the same thing, all because of the cronyism that Theresa May has with them. And not only that, they'll put legal pressure on services services that offer secure communication software to hand over our data and their data. This is insane. And while we were all being distracted by the American election, which I admit to have been distracted also, our government has been doing this. The article then continues, there are some people protected from this law, although it's not clear how their internet traffic is distinguished. MPs, doctors and lawyers can only be targeted by the law with the express permission of the Prime Minister. Trade union activities are also not a sufficient reason for the law to be used. So basically MPs, well, I'm not surprised there, they don't want themselves to be spied on, do they? And the Prime Minister has to give her express permission to spy on these people. And for once, they're not doing something anti-trade union either. I mean, you'd expect them to at least put something in there to attack the unions, but hey, for once, they've done nothing. As a result of this law, the cost of storing this vast amount of data could be handed down to the customers, which would mean we'd literally be paying to be spied on. Good old British tax system. Basically, make us pay for our own oppression. Isn't that just great, people? So yeah, this law is not the only draconian thing that they've been trying to pass as well. And one of those things just happens to be about pornography. Now, this has been a Tory thing even during the coalition government with the Lib Dems. Back in 2014, they quietly censored through an amendment to the 2003 Communications Act, basically stopping them from depicting certain sex acts, usually at female pleasure, funnily enough, on screen. They wouldn't allow British porn companies to film these things, and this is the list of what they are: spanking, caning, aggressive whipping, penetration by any object associated with violence, whatever that means, considering any object can be associated with violence. You can hit someone with anything, a pencil, a pen, anything. That's ridiculous. But let's continue. A physical or verbal abuse, regardless of if it's consensual, which by law it would have to be because they sign a contract. Urolagnia, also known as water sports, which is basically peeing on someone. That's what it is. They banned that. Role playing as non-adults. So teen porn. Someone dressing up as a schoolgirl can technically be illegal to depict in this country. Physical restraint, which is not even the worst thing during sex. Like, normal people can do that. People who don't have particular kinks do that kind of thing. Humiliation, female ejaculation, strangulation, which is basically autoerotic asphyxiation, face sitting, which is basically cunnilingus, and fisting, which is just fingering but with the whole fist. And apparently the final three is life endangering. Fisting is not life endangering. Face sitting, your nose is above the vagina and they know what they're doing. They're professionals. And again with the strangulation, they know what they're doing. If somebody went a bit too far, the director will shout cut and people would remove the person if he happened or she happened to lose control. So that's the list of sex acts that are banned from the industry. They can't film it, although you can view older videos that have these acts. But then fast forward 2 years, the government, now run by Theresa May, have allowed the BBFC, or the British Board of Film Classifications, previously known as the British Board of Film Censors, who by the way have been given all authority to do any of these things and to ban these things, guidelines of a non-exhaustive list of all the things that will not be accepted in R18, the regulator's highest restriction and the one that all porn shown to users in the UK must now satisfy. That is according to the Independent. Yes, I know it's Independent, but bear with me. The new bill that they're proposing, the Digital Economy Bill, will look to ban anything that wouldn't be allowed on a commercially available DVD. So now that they've stopped the companies from actually filming this stuff, they're now going to try and stop it on DVDs as well as them doing it in the film industry. So they've had restrictions such as a 4-finger rule, which is basically the banning of fisting, and they've also banned the sight of menstrual blood because, hey, apparently that's something to be ashamed of, yet that's apparently obscene. And in fact, they also ban any sexual act deemed obscene under the Obscene Publications Act, which was passed in 1959. An out-of-date law in which society has moved on from, clearly, and that needs to be amended, but hey, apparently we're going to bring back British society back to the 1980s, hell, even back to the 50s and 60s, because video nasties are apparently being created in porn, and this needs to be addressed, of course. And rightfully so, adult film producers and activists have complained that such restrictions place huge limits on kinds of sexual activity that can be displayed and so constitute a form of censorship. And don't worry, this doesn't just apply to DVDs and video, this also applies to the internet, believe it or not. And the article continues, if porn sites show any videos that were more extreme to UK users, then they would be breaking the law according to the proposed bill. It wouldn't ban those websites from hosting the material, but they must not be ever shown to anyone in Britain. So basically they would be updating the internet filter and blocking these websites from showing us videos that previously we were allowed to be shown during the last round of censorship, but now they're consolidating it and really enforcing it nationwide and media-wide. But perhaps the most worrying thing is not just the censorship, but also the age verification clauses, which it requires any porn website to check whether its users are over 18. That means that these porn sites are being forced, although maybe being prodded, to develop a habit of viewing people's database histories and stuff like that. As the article says, the Digital Economy Bill has so far been almost entirely criticised for its age verification clauses, which require any porn website to check whether its users are over 18. That's likely to lead to a database of viewing habits being held by companies or by the government, which experts have warned could easily be hacked and exposed. And indeed, if anyone has seen what the US government has had to put up with recently, and hell, even Sony, that is easily hacked. This stuff is just scary and terrifying. The article then says, but the provision banning any video that wouldn't pass through the British film regulators' tests could lead to even more videos becoming unavailable in the UK. As part of the BBFC's agreement to regulate the new age restrictions, it will also check through sites and see whether if they are hosting videos that the BBFC would refuse to classify. If they are, then they could be shut down under the terms of the bill. A representative confirmed to The Guardian the BBFC would be checking through videos and applying the same standards to online pornography that it would offline. Just as with problems with age verification, if the BBFC finds a site it objects to, then it will send a notification of non-compliance, meant to force the site to stop. The Department for Media, Culture and Sport spokesperson said the BBFC is not being asked to police the internet. The focus of this legislation is to protect children with the same safeguards online as they have offline. BBFC is already working positively with adult pornography sites to ensure the protections in this bill will achieve this objective. So basically, it's what somebody please think of the children time. Again, this is not up to the government to stop. This is up to the parents to regulate what their children are doing online. And they can already ban and block these websites through the use of their computers alone. They don't need the government to do it for them. This is just a further example of our country falling down this nanny state, police state nightmare. And this is the right wing doing this. This is not the Labour Party, who, by the way, probably would also be doing something like this as well. This is just a horseshoe theory in effect. Right-wing authoritarians and left-wing authoritarians both hate this shit. Sex-negative feminists, sex-negative right-wingers, they're both the same. This is what they're doing. This is what social justice warriors could only dream of doing. It's no longer up to the parents. It's no longer up to the individuals to police what children and what they themselves can and cannot watch. No, apparently the government has to do it for us because we are too stupid, we are too weak-minded, we are just incapable of looking after ourselves. So the government's going to do it for us, all in the name of security, to protect our children. Well, I'm sorry, but children viewing porn is like a rite of passage. They used to do it in shops. They used to try and peek into the magazines or buy the magazines even. Now they've got the internet. Porn doesn't harm children. It doesn't. It's healthy for a child who's, say, 13, 14 to masturbate, and you usually masturbate to porn, don't you? Are we really going to try and stop that, which could potentially harm these people? Just look at Islam with their ban on masturbation and see what happens. I know this is probably not going to happen. I'm not saying that they're going to ban us from masturbating, but the point is, this bill could potentially cause issues where people become very sexually disturbed because, well, they don't have porn. Now, maybe that's just me being paranoid and slightly fearmongery, so we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I do not like the fact that this is happening. I do not like the fact that I, as an adult, is being punished for parents' failure to look after their kids and to see what they've been doing online. It's 2016, people. It's current year. You should know how to do these things. It's common knowledge by now, surely. But that's just my opinion anyway, people. So I'll leave you at this. This has been CharmingMan93. Like and share the video, subscribe to my channel, donate to my Patreon, and I'll see you all later.